Good morning, students. So let us pass to the next phylum, that is phylum Nematoda. This nematodes is the most diverse phylum of pseudocoelomates, including roundworms, flatworms, and threadworms. As you can see in this picture, these are the few roundworms which belongs to the phylum Nematoda. This is a microscopic view of a nematode worm. This is a pictorial diagrammatic view, and this again a microscopic views of different roundworms or the nematodes. Nematode worms are also called as a roundworms. These nematodes species are very difficult to distinguish, and there are about 80,000 of different worms which comes under this phylum Nematoda, and out of which around 15,000 are parasitic. And unlike the cnidarians or the flatworms that you have studied in the previous phylum, that is a Platyhelminthes, these roundworms have a digestive system which is like a tube-like opening at both the ends. And these nematodes have successfully adapted to the nearly ecological niches from marine to the freshwater, from polar regions to the tropics, and also from the highest to the lowest of the elevations. That means you can see almost everywhere you can see these nematode worms. They are very common in freshwater, marine, and the terrestrial environment, and where they are often outnumber the number of animals in both the individual and the species counts, and also found in the locations such as the oceanic trenches. So everywhere you can see this type of nematode worms. This phylum nematodes, also called as a phylum Nemathelminthes, and they are commonly these worms which comes under this phylum are called as a roundworms because of their appearance. These nematodes, word nematode is derived from a Greek word. Nema means thread and eidos means form, and they are commonly referred to as a non-segmented roundworm. They are commonly referred to as non-segmented roundworms. There are the few members are thread-like, so they are called as a threadworms, or they can be pin-like and called as a pinworm, and as distant from the flatworms. The flatworms belong to the phylum Platyhelminthes, and the higher segmented annelids, they are highly distinguishable from this segmented annelids, which is coming under the next phylum, that is annelids. We will just see later. And these are the pictures of few roundworms. This is a scanning electron microscopic image of a roundworm, and this is a picture of the common roundworm, that is the Ascaris lumbricoides. So there are approximately 24,000 different species of roundworms which are present. They are free-living and parasitic forms. Then their length reaches up to 8 meters in certain roundworms, and it can be as small as 80 centimeters also. Then bilaterally symmetrical organism. They mostly live in the sediment layers of water and the soil. They are mainly, few of them are the decomposers. They may be saprophytic, that is a saprophytic form, or the parasitic forms. We'll come in detail about this parasitic form in coming sections. Then the sexes are separated. As you can see in this picture, this is a two roundworms. This is a female one and this is a male one. So you can distinguish between the roundworms based upon their sex. And the mouth and the anus are separated. The body is unsegmented. Unsegmented in the sense that without any segments. So if you just observe this picture of a roundworm, no segments, we can't observe any segments. Then the schizocelic body cavity, that is the body cavity is a coelom that is seen in schizocelic type of body cavity, which is formed from the block of mesoderm around the gut that enlarges and hollows out. So this type of formation of the coelom is called as a schizocoelom. So the coelom arises as a cavity which is formed from the mesoderm. So hope you have studied in your lower classes. Then the sexual dimorphism, as we have told. Then no respiratory or the circulatory system is found. Since most of them are the parasitic forms, they need not have any respiratory or the circulatory system for the survival. Then excretory system is a type of protonephridia or the skin glands, or in some forms this type of excretory system will be absent. And they have a so-called anus, and for this is first time in the animal kingdom you can see a distinct anus when we come to this phylum. And these are the few examples: trichina worm, hookworm, ascarid worm. These are the parasitic in human. So these are the few parasitic nematode worms that we see. Then when we come into the detail, into the silent features, we can say that as said earlier, they are widely distributed, aquatic, terrestrial, then parasitic or the free living forms. The body is elongated, cylindrical, unsegmented, worm-like, bilaterally symmetrical organism, and they are tapering at both the ends. It's purely worm-like body, and they are the triploblastic animals, that is 3 layers are there with perivisceral cavity more extensive than that of the platyhelminthes. So the cavity inside the animal will be more prominent in the case of this phylum nematodes. Then they have an organ grade of organization. Starting from this phylum, you can see an organ system of grade organization. The body is generally covered with thick, flexible, multi-layered collagenous cuticle and often bears a cuticle setae or the hairs or the spines or annulations. So that itself is a parasitic adaptation to possess a thick, flexible layer of a cuticle. And this cuticle is molted periodically. So as the organism increases its size, it gets molted periodically. They are the cellular or the syncytial epidermis is another important feature, that is the nuclei are not separated from each other by the cell membrane. So you can say that inside a cell there will be many nucleus. So the type of epidermis is called as a syncytial epidermis. They consist only the longitudinal muscle fibers with 4 bands. So the longitudinal muscle fibers are present. They lack true coelom in the sense that the body cavity will not be lined by all the sides by the mesoderm. You will be seeing only the patches of mesoderm surrounding the body cavity. The body cavity, so called, it is a pseudocoel, and it is not lined by the mesoderm, and it is filled with parenchyma in most of the cases. They lack cilia surrounding the body. When compared to the other phylum, hope you remember the other phylum. Then circulatory and the respiratory system is absent, since most of them are the parasitic forms. In this organism, the respiration takes place through the general body surface and aerobic in the free living form and the anaerobic in the parasitic forms. Then internal cephalization is present. You can see an internal cephalization, but externally there is a little distinguish between the anterior and the posterior end. As you can see in this picture, there is no cephalization. There is no head, so-called head region, you can't see in this roundworms. But internally, a slight differentiation is seen. That is, a distinct head is lacking, in the sense that externally distinct head is lacking, and however the mouth is present at the anterior region. Then when we pass on into the detail, the digestive system is complete with a distinct mouth and the anus. You can see a distinct mouth here, a distinct mouth, and the other end you can see an anus. The muscular pharynx and the inner surface of the gut usually not lined by the cilia. This is a muscular pharynx. This pharynx and the inner surface of the gut, this portion, gut, it is not lined by the cilia. Then the extracellular digestion occurs in them. So the digestion takes place outside the cell. The mouth is surrounded by lips, a so-called lips. Then excretory, this portion we will come when we take in detail the different examples. We will come in detail about this lip portion. So that's a type of parasitic adaptation seen in these nematode worm. Then excretory without the flame cell or nephridia. Then in the class Adenophora, certain granular renate cells are present which serves as a nephridia. So that is a peculiarity of a class Adenophora. The nervous system is not much developed, and it consists of a circumpharyngeal ring. As you can see here, this is a ring which encircles the pharynx, so it's called as a circumpharyngeal ring, and from there you can see a longitudinal nerve cord. Then the sense organs are poorly developed in the form of a papillae. A small papillae it is seen, and which is well defined as an aphid in the mouth region and the plasmid in the anus region. So these are the two structures which are sensory in function. Sexes are separate. They are the gonochoristic, called as a gonochoristic. We can say that they are separate, or the dioecious with sexual dimorphism. The male is smaller than the female. You have seen the picture of this roundworm. The females are the larger than the males. The tubular gonad is present in them. You can see the tubular gonad. So these are the, here you can see the testis, that is a tubular structure. Then the male genital tract leads to the cloaca. The female genital ducts with a separate opening is also seen. Then amoeboid sperm cells are present. No asexual reproduction is found. The fertilization is internal, or it may be the crows or the self, that we will come in detail. Then development is direct, that is with or without an intermediate host, or it can be an indirect. Then various lateral lines and the pores are present on the surface of the body. That's all in this video lecture. Thank